Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey. I'm the CEO of Treasury Webinars. Thrilled to welcome you to our webinar today, Accounts Payable in 2025, Trends, Expectations, and Opportunities. The webinar today is going to focus on the key survey results of implications of the AP in 2025 Trends, Expectations, and Opportunities survey. Before we dive in, I want to thank my webinar partner, Esker, who not only shares my commitment to thought leadership, but also shares my commitment to impacting the career success of those who use their products. A little bit of a roadmap for our journey today. First, we're going to start off with a survey overview. Then we're going to dive into the results and implications. We're going to take a look at APE expectations in 2025. Going to take a look at the landscape of AP relationships and why they matter and where there are opportunities to improve for companies. Going to then transition to the payments lay of the land. Then we're going to get into a discussion of AP done right, what that looks like. Then we're going to have a discussion about the accounts payable resources that are necessary to deliver value. And then we're going to wrap things up with some key takeaways for the webinar today. Let's dive into the survey overview. First, let's take a look at the demographics. First of all, let's look at the job titles. We had a very good mix of job titles, as you can see, AP manager, treasury manager, CFO. So I'm very happy with the spread of job titles that we had. Also had good dispersion in terms of company size. Let me put into context how I categorize companies by small, mid-market, enterprise. Small companies, I would say, have less than 100 employees. Mid-market companies have between 100 and 999 employees, and then enterprise companies would have 1,000 or more employees. So just looking at the demographics there, we have a good dispersions across company size there as well. We also have good dispersions across industries as well. Many represented over 5%, top three construction, healthcare, and professional service. So very happy with the demographics across the board. And note we had over 250 responses focused on companies that are located in the United States. So let's take a look at the expectations in 2025. Looking at the responsibilities of AP teams, we have 27% report they're going to increase significantly, 43% increase slightly. So looks like the responsibilities of AP teams are going to continue to trend up in 2025. That's a trend that I first saw back in 2021 that continues. Also wanted to look at the strategic role of AP for next year versus this year. That's also going to increase. So good news, responsibilities are going to go up. We also want to see that strategic role go up. What about the complexities of what we're going to have to do in AP? We look at the number of invoices processed. That's going to increase significantly at 28%, almost 30%, and increase significantly at 51%. We're going to have more invoices to process, and they're also going to be more complex. So we have increased slightly, 41%, and another 19% increase significantly. So that gives us 60%. So more responsibilities, more work to do, more complex, right? But we're going to have a more strategic role as well, which is good for the AP profession. Let's look at DPO. These are expectations going into the year. So 2025, we see 15% of those surveyed expected to increase significantly, 32% increase slightly. We're at 47%. And just to take a look at this when you have a chance to do a more deep dive into the slides, you can take a look at this relative going into 2024 and going into 2023, what we had seen pretty consistent here, a little bit of drop in increase significantly for DPO going into 2024. I'm going to share a much more comprehensive survey report in the coming weeks that dives even deeper into these results and takes a look at some year-over-year results. This survey has been done for the past 4 years. So what about the more expectations? What about time spent on supplier relationships? What we want to do in AP is we want to take as much control as possible over the types and timing of payments. So it's good to always invest in supplier relationships. It's good to see that we've got 44% of companies report they're going to increase the investment in supplier relationships. It's going to pay off. It's especially important given all the disruptions in supply chain that are already occurring. We just avoided a major strike at one of our major U.S. ports, and also supply chain interruptions that are coming due to the continuing wars out there across the world and geopolitical unrest. What about time spent collaborating with Treasury? Also good to see that companies report that were surveyed 41%. So we like to see that. So we like to see AP and Treasury teams collaborating to make data-driven decisions on how payments are made, i.e. check, electronic payments, and all the different kind of cards you can use, and also regarding the timing of payments. So let's not just have a check run every few days or wires going out every 3 or 4 days or every couple of weeks based on no data in terms of we might be missing out on potential discount opportunities and creating other new discount opportunities as well. So let's dive into relationships. So I've always been on a soapbox about the importance of supplier relationships. So how do you improve supplier relationships in 2025? Get those to be optimized. You have to have open lines of communication from your team to their team. You got to eliminate asymmetries of information. You need to be looking at the same information as your suppliers. We also need to facilitate real-time collaboration. Technology can do that. Probably one of the most important things to taking control of the types of payments is you need to deliver the remittance information suppliers need. So a lot of suppliers are holding on to checks very tightly because they're not getting the remittance information they need to effectively apply cash on their end, and that causes tremendous issues of inefficiency and many issues on their side as well. We need to be able to make accurate on-time payments. We need to be able to not have late payments by design and optimize when those payments take place. We need to have the ability and the courage to have proactive communication of payment delays. You want to treat each supplier as a relationship, not a transaction. And at the end of the day, trusted relationships deliver more control over the types and timings of payments. Now let's look at the current state among the companies surveyed. We have 52% good, we can do better. We only have 29% communicate and collaborate proactively. That's really where we want to be. So this should be the goal of your organization. You should get to a point where it's ideal, communicate and collaborate proactively. Let's get with your team and decide what that means. And let's make sure that we are all on the same page. And if any silos exist, we need to eliminate those. We shouldn't have different communications coming from different areas of accounts payable. That only causes issues and friction with our suppliers. Dig in a little bit deeper to supplier relationships. Let's take a look at those issues, right? We have timing of payment at 53%. I thought that would be more. Note for this question, respondents could select more than one option. More information needed to process an invoice, discount related issues, clarification, requesting the same information from suppliers. To me, I can boil these down to root causes are asymmetry of information and technology that doesn't facilitate collaboration. We look at the root causes of the supplier issues. Again, documentation, access to information, uh, silos, like we talked about that, a little bit lower than I expected on Excel. So the vast majority of companies within and beyond the survey have a lot of supplier issues, and the root causes of these supplier issues can be addressed with technology. A key part of that is eliminating asymmetries of information with your suppliers. That can be game changer on the service. It seems like it's not all that complicated, but it can be complicated, and we need to remove that. And tremendously important to eliminate those silos in your company, within your AP team. We'll talk about the prevalence of those in a bit. Here we go. AP team works in silos. Strongly agree. 13% agree. 24%, 33% neither agree or disagree. To me, that means I have silos that exist. So in 70% of the companies surveyed, we have silos that exist. Obviously, a big problem, causes friction, causes inefficiency. It can keep us from taking discounts, can cause supplier issues that impact the bottom line. We look at the biggest reason for AP silos, technology, 25%. But here are some things that really to me speak to almost a culture of silos. No reason, lack of communication, no incentive to collaborate. So if you look at the sum of those three things, almost 60% of those reasons are due to what I see as a culture of silos, a culture of non-collaboration, even between your AP team. So that's incredibly important, can be causing more damage than you even know. So let's take a look in the mirror. Let's set our AP team down, right? Ask them individually before the meeting, what are the biggest causes of inefficiency, ask them individually. Do you work in silos? Do we work in silos, and see what they say? And you don't have to, you can do it anonymously as well, but this is something you need to talk through, honestly, have those conversations. We need to get those silos removed. And if we need to upgrade technology to do that, that's something we should invest in. So let's look at the payments lay of the land. Very interesting to take a look at. One of the things that we always see, we've been seeing in the US for 20 years, people in Europe and across the world, like, how can you guys keep checks? Why do you have checks? It makes no sense to have checks. So when you look at my survey results for the past 4 years, you can see there are some deep rooted causes for that. Here we see one of them. We just pay suppliers based on the history of how they've always been paid, right? So that's a big one. So that's 40% right there. So if you've already been paid by check, you don't have incentive to do that. Communicate and collaborate and let them choose. That's a good idea, but you want to steer them away from checks. So right there, that's almost 60%. So on the lower two, it's nice that you want to be efficient and make data-driven decisions, but you also want to make sure that your suppliers understand the cost, right, of accepting those payments. Good AP on our side means efficient AR for our suppliers. So let's take a little bit of a dive here by company size. Again, much more analysis by company size in the full survey report. A couple of things that really jump out: communicate and collaborate. We see the highest in the mid-market. This is not surprising to me because what I've seen is the adoption of AP automation solutions has been higher, had been higher among mid-market companies. And then it's a little surprising that small companies say that paying the most manner that's most cost effective for us. But what we'll see is a lot of small companies are paying by check, and they just don't realize that the cost of paying checks versus even an ACH is really off the charts. I've seen multiples still 5, 6, 7, 10%. And then you look at the other side of it, preferred way to pay suppliers, right, from our companies. Look at that, checks, 26%. That's a lot of inertia there, right? So we see that. So my takeaway from that is checks aren't going anywhere soon, even over the next decade or two, despite all the AI that's that's going on out there. So we need to focus on processing checks as efficiently as possible in terms, and we also need to focus a lot in within that in the time we take ask of our approvers to do so. We ask companies if they track payment types. That's good, 88%. That's great. You can track payment types, but you need to manage those payment types as well. So what you want to be doing is saying, okay, how do we make payments right now? What are the buckets, checks, ACH, maybe real-time payments, credit card, ghost card, all these different ways pay, and then say, okay, where are there opportunities for us to collaborate with our customers to possibly mitigate to a payment type that is more cost effective for us? It's not always the time to go from check to try and get a credit card to get a rebate for yourself. Usually a good first step on checks is to get them to ACH, and that's a great first step. So I see it as a 401k. You should look at your allocation across those payment types, and we should be managing those, and we should have goals for those, and we should work with Treasury if we're an AP to set those goals, monitor and manage those goals. And then if you look at the preferred way to pay suppliers by company size, look at small companies. Again, I gave away before, checks, right? Very inefficient. They seem to think they're most cost effective. And then we see a big prevalence on the enterprise size in terms of ACH, but there's like, wait a minute, I would expect the mid market to be a little higher there in ACH. Well, it makes sense if you look at, right, the amount of folks doing real time payments already. So that's what makes sense to me. So we see the adoption of real time payments being driven, at least among our survey respondents, a much more in the mid-market space. Again, to me, I've seen more of an appetite for technology adoption, even compared to enterprise companies in my surveys the last 4 or 5 years. So let's take a look at the dynamics. What about the percent of electronic payments? That's going to increase significantly or slightly. So that's good to see. Some companies realize they need to get away from checks. We look at the use of real-time payments in this year or next year. So what we see is there is already some good traction, at least among our survey respondents, and we've only got 35% that have no plans, which is in my mind pretty high. And then we look at this, just another way to look at it, use of real-time payments by company size. Again, another way to slice the data. So let's talk about what strategic AP in 2025 looks like. We already shared there's going to be more invoices, they're going to be more complex, we have more responsibilities. So, how do we make sure that we deliver success in AP in 2025 and beyond? Well, what does it look like? We need to enable remote work, right? Remote work is not going away. We need to eliminate manual processes. We already mentioned visibility. Visibility is incredibly powerful in terms internally, end to end, but also visibility with our suppliers as well. We need to work on optimizing our supplier relationships, and in doing so, taking control of how and when we make payments, which helps us optimize our cash flow. Yeah, we look at enabling remote work. It's been a focus since COVID, but we need to really look at our business continuity, especially given all the weather related issues that are happening, not only in the US, but across the globe. And we need to make sure that we have business agility for us to function no matter what happens. In addition to the weather, there's possible cyber attacks that can impact your company. In other ways, it may impact your suppliers as well. So we need to be ready to adjust in those situations. And then as far as eliminating manual tasks, we already know it's important. It's more important than ever in 2025, given that AP is going to have more responsibilities, going to be more complex, and have the opportunity to have more of a seat at the strategic table. Enhancing visibility. I always like to share this. Thinking about visibility, can't manage what you can't see. There are a lot of potholes that exist and a lot of bottlenecks that you're not aware of or how big they are that you can improve just by enhancing visibility. Blind spots create process inefficiency within your staff and with your suppliers, and they all damage supplier relationship. One of the big things is asymmetry of information among your staff just wastes time. Visibility allows companies to make educated decisions, right, about those discounts and also potentially facilitate discounts which are advantageous to our company based on our opportunity cost of cash. So let's just take a look. We reviewed some issues earlier, just interesting to me. What what would have the biggest impact on efficiency if the issue was resolved? Communication with suppliers, right? That asymmetry of information, access to supplier activity. So to me, if you look at the asymmetry of information, that's given you probably those top three. So it's all 84%. So this just shows, and this is a question you should ask internally to each AP staff member, as I mentioned earlier. It's so you can see what those issues are, then you can find out why. The other thing to note is that all of these, in my mind, are related to technology, not only technology, but technology and process as well. But you can see that with technology and process, you can eliminate those issues. What about people? So we asked a question in our minds: our company is going to be investing in the people and technology to empower AP success in 2025. So let's look at the team dynamics first in terms of number of employees. We see that 39% are going to add employees. So good news, they see the need there. We're going to invest in employees, which hopefully have different skill sets that we currently have on our team. And then on the other side of it, we can also improve the skill sets of our existing team and those coming in 2025. What about professional development opportunities? 41% of companies surveyed are going to increase those opportunities. So it's a win-win on both sides. So 39% add employees. So I don't see this happening in the near future. Never did, never will. AI is not going to eliminate all the accounts payable jobs. One of the big reasons is relationships matter. Relationships matter internally. Relationships matter with suppliers. Those things are never going to change. AI is never going to fix that. So just keep that in mind. It's an exciting time to be in accounts payable. You have the opportunity to redefine your value proposition and redefine what value added from AP looks like. So what about the skills companies are going to be investing, right, in professional development? What are the skills they're going to invest in? Well, it's good for me to see a couple things that stick out. Cash management, 37%. That's great. They realize they need to do a better job of collaborating with Treasury, which to me means collaborating, right, on the type and timing of payments, but also delivering a forecast on outflows that's going to help us optimize our working capital. We have a technology side, of course. We have data analytics, data management, right? AP automation solutions. So all those speak. And we're not seeing as much as I like, but we are seeing some traction on the importance of what I call human skills, soft skills, written oral communication skills, and business partnering. I'd like to see more investment there, especially with AI and everything going on. People get overly focused on that side of it, where we can get just as much impact, if not more impact, by investing in the soft skills of our teams. And those need to be taught. Listening needs to be taught. People need to learn how to communicate effectively. You can't have communication, can't have collaboration without communication. That is, just taking a look by company size, just interesting to see where a few things fall. It's good to see enterprise folks focusing on business partnering, uh, that oral communication and written are more priorities at small companies, where I would hope to see them bigger priorities at the mid-market and enterprise companies. But what you see in the mid-market and enterprise is data analytics, which means companies have to have the right technology. So let's just talk about optimizing performance, whether you're in an AP team or you're a leader. If you're in an AP team, what you should expect and what you should let your boss know will help you optimize your performance. And then, as far as being an AP leader, what is the culture that you should facilitate that's going to optimize the performance of your team? Your team should have opportunities for professional growth, right? We should have a sit down with all of our folks, look at their existing skill sets, existing skill sets, and then we're going to see, okay, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? How can we get you there? And we can also see in areas where they are particularly gifted, maybe we can help them cross train their employees. Also want to have opportunities for personal growth that shows that we care about our employees. There is an absolute battle for talent that exists in the AP realm, so we need to make sure that our employees are happy. Guess what? Part of that is making sure that they have the right technology in place so they're not wasting time on non-value add tasks. We want to be a good boss, or expect a good boss. We should give praise. We need to be vested in your employee success. And if you're not the manager, you need to make sure that your boss is vested in your success. We need communication. As I mentioned before, it's got to be constructive, honest. Employees should feel informed. We shouldn't be hiding things that are going on at our company. If people feel like they know what's going on, they feel like they're engaged, that helps them become accountable. Our folks should also know the professional value that they bring to the table, and we need to empower them to own their own professional value and collaborate with you on ways to impact that and improve that every year. Obviously, we want to have an environment of values and ethics. We want to have that positive environment, and part of that environment needs to be, again, collaborative environment. We should have no tolerance for silos, and we also need to make sure our interactions between our AP team and Treasury and other departments, we aren't functioning in silos as well. So let's take a look at technology. So let's take a look at where we're at. Our survey respondents, do they leverage AP automation solutions? Yes, 42%. Uh, More than one. That's number still amazes me. I've seen it for several years now. The only one. So the good news is we have a lot of adoption of AP automation solutions. My question is, as a company, why would you need more than one AP automation solution? We should be able to tackle what we need to with that one solution with the right partner. And then what we've shown through our presentation and analysis is companies would do well to take a look at the technology that they have available to the AP team to deliver value. The good news is 46% of the companies surveyed recognize there's a need. So the good news is for the survey respondents that those companies, they realize they need to be investing in their people and their technology, and that's what AP teams should be doing at companies of all sizes. So let's talk about the value of AP done right, right? This is the value proposition. This is why you should invest in AP success, value of AP beyond, mitigate invoice processing costs, right? We talked about optimizing productivity, optimizing supplier relationships. We can capture discounts, impacts the productivity of everyone involved in the process, which goes within and beyond AP. We can improve working capital management, and we can also potentially get rebates from commercial card payments as well. So impacting the bottom line, efficiency, right? Productivity, improving supplier relationships, all of the above help us take more control of how and when we make payments, which facilitates company growth. So key takeaways from our time together today. First, the expectations of AP are on the rise in 2025. That's a good thing. You're going to have more invoices to process, going to be more complex, and you're going to have more responsibilities, right? That's a good thing. The question we'll answer later is, are companies investing to facilitate and empower that success? Companies need to be more strategic relative to how and when they make payments. I've seen this the last 4 years and running, that companies don't seem to be making data-driven decisions. They're making payments based on how things have been done, and they're not really collaborating enough with their suppliers to make educated decisions on both sides about the best payment methods. We need to get away from checks. Companies need to do better at delivering visibility across AP processes and interactions with their suppliers. It causes a lot of friction, damages supplier relationship. Removing that friction improves relationships and mitigates unintended risk exposures. Companies need to invest in optimizing all supplier relationships. All relationships matter, and all communications with all suppliers matter. Technology can empower supplier relationship management, and that delivers more control of how and when payments are made. And the good news is, from the survey results and from what I've heard, companies are investing in people and technology to empower AP success in 2025. If you're an AP professional, your company should be doing that in 2025. Also want to share that Esker is a key partner of mine on my cash management demo day on November 14th of this year. So we'd love to have you attend the event. This is one of my favorite graphics. So I just want to share with everyone that cash management nirvana is possible. So this is one of my favorite slides. It shows both sides of it, right? We talked about the AP side. What about the AR side? End to end, one interface. You can do it all. You look at all the different areas, your suppliers, procurement, AP, so all the dynamics in there, right? And then we have AR, customer order to cash, your company in the middle. So that's why I believe it's incredibly compelling to learn what Esker, the solutions they offer, is all about in their philosophy to optimizing the cash conversion cycle. Finally, I want to once again thank my webinar partner, Esker. Again, they share my commitment to thought leadership, and more importantly, my commitment to impacting the career success of those who use their products. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Make the rest of your day great.